hey, it's the matinee show. And look, Tom's back this time.
Yeah, I'm back.
So I had to do it myself last time.
Yeah. It's alright. That wasn't feeling that good.
Yeah, you weren't. That's alright.
Plus, you had to get ready for storm and everything.
Yeah, we had to do all the storm prep, which didn't even, end up really hitting us. It's like all we got was a little bit of wind and rain, and that was it. I mean, that's good. It's
weather control, man. Weather control technology.
Okay.
They bombarded it with those damn microwaves and moved it. Evidently, they've been able to do it forever. We'll see.
Well, what did Cape Hatteras do to, fuck with people then? Because they got hit today. I think it made landfall in Cape Hatteras.
Well, I think maybe they can only make it do what they can do. It's flying out tow patrol, you know?
It's just Florida. It's just
yeah.
Everybody's just blowing over.
HARP.
Yeah.
Weather control.
Or aliens. Yeah. But yeah, so, all right. So what we did this week, so we actually did our theater was actually closed 2 days this week because they thought the hurricane was coming. So we thought we weren't going to be able to watch any theater movies again, but then they reopened yesterday. So we actually did get to see 2 movies in the theater this week, and we actually watched one on Netflix earlier this week. Now, we're going to do the one we watched on Netflix first. Now, this one, I'm kind of running out of 2019 horror movies that are on Netflix or Shudder or whatever. So I've kind of gone more into the thriller direction. So the one we watched today came out in July of 2019, and it was called Secret Obsession.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Now, I'm going to say right off the jump that this is basically a slightly higher budget Lifetime movie. That's essentially exactly what it is.
Yeah.
The acting's better, the cinematography is a bit better, but it is very much like a Lifetime movie. Now, if you know that going into it, then you will probably enjoy it just fine. It seems to have gotten pretty good reviews if you're into this kind of thing. One thing that a lot of people bitched about, and I went back and watched it to make sure, after I watched the movie, people were if you watch the trailer of it, because on Netflix and they show you the little trailer, it gives away everything. Yeah, pretty much. So there's you will not be shocked to discover. I also wish they had named it something a bit more with a bit more oomph. I mean, Secret Obsession, that really does sound like a Lifetime movie, which I guess is what it is. So I guess they knew what they were doing. It's just a very generic title.
And it's in a way, it's kind of a generic movie. It is. It's a movie of its genre. You pretty much know what's happening from the get-go.
And that's what I mean. So that's why I'm not terribly afraid about spoiling it, because like I said, if you've seen the trailer, then it's already spoiled. There's no big twist, there's no big surprise, there's nothing like that.
Chick gets into a car accident.
Yeah, she gets hit by a car at the beginning, right? Yeah, she
doesn't have any memory. Her husband is at the hospital trying to pick her up to take her back home. And one thing leads to another. This woman realizes that this guy that picked her up at the hospital isn't her husband.
Yeah.
The husband's stealing. This guy is stealing this woman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's pre-planned it. Yeah, it's pretty. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool movie. I mean, also, he's trying to take the husband's place.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what he's doing. Yeah. I mean, even to the extent of basically photoshopping fucking family wedding photos. Pictures and family photos, a whole fucking book of them, man, because she finds it later on. He tells her she has a different name. Yeah. He takes her to this, admittedly really nice house. I'm not sure if I'd ask too many questions either. If somebody took me back to that house. He got they didn't really explain, where he got money. There's a lot. Now, I'm going to say that, much like in a lot of these kind of Lifetime movies and stuff, there's a really lot of plot holes in this. If you think about it too hard, you're just well, how did that happen? And who's that one? And you know what's something that I thought about later on, because I did think about this movie later on because I was trying to figure it out. There was one guy that turned up at the hospital, the dark-haired guy with the beard, and he brought her flowers and said he was a concerned party or something. Who the fuck was that guy? They never tell you who that guy was.
It's kind of like that movie we saw. What was the one about the white guy who sells his house to the black couple, but he doesn't actually leave? He's still there.
Oh, The Intruder.
The Intruder, yeah, and he starts scamming on.
This is very much like that.
It's a movie kind of like that.
This one's not as batshit. This one is, because that one was pretty batshit.
I like that one actually better.
I did too.
Yeah.
Well, because that one,
scary ass fucking dude.
That one, as crazy as it was, and it's over the top, and it was just this ridiculous. Yeah. But it leaned into ridiculous, and I think that's good. Yeah. This one, like I said, it's by all means, it's a totally enjoyable movie. It's nothing you haven't seen before. You will guess where it's going to go.
That first one, I would have renamed that first one for a white man gonna take your woman. It's actually what I would have named that. And that movie, it would have been
white man gonna take your
white woman. Man gonna take your woman. And fucking
old white man.
Yeah, old white man gonna take your woman. And that shit would have been even a bigger hit with Dennis Quaid.
Yeah.
White man gonna take
that would have been it, because I would totally. I would
better title.
I would totally go see a movie called that. Old crazy white man gonna take.
Okay.
That is very funny. Yeah. But yeah, so as I said, this one, it's like, if you know what you're getting into, if you like those Lifetime movies, this is like a slightly higher end version of a Lifetime movie. It's not going to surprise you. There's no twist or anything like that. Like, they tell you right from the trailer that the dude that picks her up from the hospital and she has amnesia and stuff, that's not her husband. So you know there's some bad shit going on you pretty much. Oh, we forgot to mention that the detective in this is played by the Allstate insurance guy.
Yeah, that's right.
He was also
I'm getting ready for him to sell me some insurance.
He was also on 24, though. Yeah. Like, he played the president on 24. So, but I've never, I don't watch 24. So it's like, for him, he's always going to be like the Allstate insurance. I'm sorry, getting
ready for him to say Allstate.
Because he was in like a bunch of other shit too. But it's like, because we were drinking when we were watching this, so like every time he turned up on scene to like question a character or something like that, you're like, is he going to sell him insurance now? He's going to sell insurance. You know what I mean? So it's just like this whole thing that we did. But, I mean, as generic as this movie is, it's actually a pretty good example of its genre. It's not shocking or crazy or anything like that, but it was a fun movie. I mean, we had fun watching it. Of course, we were a little bit inebriated when we were watching it, as usual. Yeah. But, you know, nothing spectacular, but perfectly enjoyable.
It was a movie.
It was a movie. And... And like I said, just don't think about all the dumb plot holes, like how's this guy getting away with all these murders, how's this, that, and the other thing. Just don't think about it. It's just turn your brain off and drink and watch it. And make all state jokes.
White man steals Asian woman. That's the
so that's the title of this one.
White man with Asian persuasion steals Asian woman. Something like that.
Pretty much, yeah. So yeah, it's on Netflix now, so if you're into that kind of thing, then you might want to check it out. All right, now the second movie we saw this week, I've been wanting to see this one for a long time because I saw a trailer a long time ago. This was Ready or Not. Yeah,
good movie, decent movie.
This was actually really good. Like, I really liked the look of the trailer, like, because I really like game type horror movies, like, you know, Would You Rather and stuff like that, which this is kind of along those lines, had a little bit of Clue going on in there.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it.
But there's a lot more to it than that.
The trailer doesn't quite give it away. This is spoiler free, right?
More or less. If we get into spoilers, I'll say spoilers so you can skip over. Yeah,
it's about a family that, let's just say, one of their ancestors made a certain kind of arrangement. It was kind of semi-paranormal. And, you're not quite sure if this is some kind of superstition or what, but when somebody marries into the family, they got to play this game in order to pass the test.
Yeah.
And the game depends on what card is drawn. And it's a family that's made a fortune off the gaming industry.
Yeah, board games and stuff, not video games.
Yeah, but they also own sports teams.
Yeah.
And, this guy's marrying this new woman, and most of the family doesn't seem to like her. I guess because she's too good-hearted, really. These people are like mega rich, too.
And they're all horrible.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Pretty bad.
They're all horrible people.
And she draws like one of the worst cards possible, which is
the worst.
Yeah, which is a hide-and-seek game, and they had to find her by midnight. Or by
dawn.
By dawn, and kill her.
Yeah.
Okay. Her only way she could win is survive it.
Yeah.
But if she survives it, the family believes they're going to be wiped out.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a do or die.
Yeah,
type
so
deal.
She has to die.
She has to die. And that's just the very beginning of the movie. All right, that's the first few minutes. So not really spoiling much there.
No, because I think a lot of that was set up in the trailer. So if you saw the trailer, right. I mean, yeah, essentially that's pretty much the pitch of it. Is just this woman's marrying into this hugely rich family. She draws the hide and seek card because it's a tradition in this family that they have to play a game when one of the members gets married, and she draws. Now, I actually like, because when I saw the trailer, I was thinking, well, wait a minute, why would anybody marry anybody and bring them to the family knowing that you would have to, that your spouse would be hunted down?
Yeah, well...
But they did address that.
Yeah, the card game had so many other options, and really that card had only been drawn a couple times. And
actually they have like a prologue that shows that the last time the hide and seek card was drawn was 30 years prior.
Yeah.
So other than that, like everyone that had married up in the past 30 years, they had played completely innocuous games.
Yeah, which evidently they weren't so horrible. They weren't that bad, evidently.
Yeah.
But as things unfold, you find out that the family's, well, I guess you could say the family's a bunch of Satanists.
Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of like, if you like that old classic movie, what was it called? The Legacy.
Yeah.
Kind of reminded me of The Legacy, but it's a very different movie in terms of, but it's that similar kind of.
It's like deal. A creaky old mansion with like a really scary.
Yeah, with a scary family that has a fucking bad history and shit. But yeah, it was a good movie. I liked the tone because it did have humor in it.
This was a straight up horror comedy. I mean, it's a comedy,
right?
But it's a very, very, very dark comedy.
Yeah, and I think that if it didn't have the humor in it, it would have come off as kind of unbelievable and kind of too corny, taking itself a little too seriously. I think the humor was a good touch.
It was, actually. I think this was the best way to approach this.
Right.
It is. I'm not going to say it is a horror movie. It's very gory. There's a lot of violence in it.
Yeah.
But the humor in it, I think, is really well done. It is definitely a very dark comedy.
Yeah.
And I think the best part about it, and I think a lot of other reviews that I've read of it subsequently have been saying this, is the lead, Samara Weaving.
Yeah.
Now, she was also in The Babysitter, which if you have Netflix, go watch that shit right now, because that was a really, really awesome movie.
She played, I think, Vesper, too.
No, that's a totally different
one. She wasn't in 007?
No, that's a totally different one.
It kind of looked like her.
No, this, actually, a lot of people are saying Samara Weaving looks like Margot Robbie, who played Sharon Tate in Once Upon a Time, which they do look a lot alike. Samara Weaving is actually Australian, and she is the niece, I believe, of Hugo Weaving, obviously very famous. He was in The Matrix and all that other kind of stuff. So she hasn't been in that many movies. She was in The Babysitter, like I said, which I think is still on Netflix, and it's really, really good. I really recommend it. It's a horror movie. She was also in Mayhem, which I think is on Shudder, or it was. That has Glenn from Walking Dead. I haven't got around to watching that one yet, but I've heard that was pretty good too. But I really do think that she makes this movie, because even like from the very beginning, I mean, she's a beautiful woman, but the way that she kind of plays with, she just seems like a real, genuine person, and she's so likable that even from the very first part of the movie, you're just like, you're rooting for her, you know what I mean? Yeah. Because she's got kind of this like no bullshit kind of attitude, and I like that she has to like display a lot of range, like, over this, because she doesn't know what's going on at first. She thinks everything is just we're just playing hide and seek, whatever. And then, as the tension mounts up, if she starts to figure out like what the hell is going on, and she has to get like more and more resourceful in order to kind of like fight back against them and survive the night and everything. And in a way, I kind of like the fact, because I feel like the poster where she's, wearing the wedding dress and she has like the bandolier or whatever thing with all the fucking, with all the bullets in it and whatnot. I think that makes it seem like a little too much like a revenge flick, which I don't really think it is. It's more like a survival horror, but also very funny. And so I really, really like that she really kind of sold that, and like some of her fucking reactions were so fucking great. Just like, I'm not gonna spoil it, but like at the end, there's a couple parts at the end where like she sees something and she's just like, fuck. You know what I mean? It's like this total underreaction, and it's like really, really hilarious.
Try to imagine the movie without the humor in it. I think it just would have been a drag without the humor. I think it would have been kind of boring. The humor actually made it, I think. Well,
yeah, like I said, and this is, first and foremost is a comedy, but it's a dark comedy. It's a satire. Yeah. I really liked the mansion where it was shot. That was like really cool looking, and it was like kind of shot in this dark, like candlelit looking thing. So I really liked the whole like aesthetic experience of it, and a lot of the actors were really good. The guy that played the one brother, like the drunk brother, I think his name's Adam Brody, the actor, he was great in it too, because he was kind of like a wild card and you never knew like which way he was going to be, because not everybody in the family was like totally on board with this killing thing, because like I said, it didn't happen every year, it just happened every once in a while. So there was some of that like moral going on.
Yeah, they're not really sure if they have to do it.
Right, and that's another thing too. So there was like a little bit of ambiguity. So, right. I mean, if you like horror comedies, if you like game type movies, you know, kind of like Would You Rather or Truth or Dare, or even though I didn't really like Truth or Dare all that much, I did like Would You Rather. And it also has kind of a Clue thing going on with like the humor and like the murder mystery type aspect. But I really, really loved this movie. And I feel like it's funny because a lot of the other reviews that I've been reading of it were like, well, this one kind of came out of nowhere. For me, it didn't, because, you know, we go to the movies all the time. So I had seen the trailer like several times. But I guess a lot of other horror fans that don't go to the theater that much, they hadn't really seen the trailers. They're like, wow, this one came out of nowhere. And like we went to see it and we just thought it was great. So it just kind of like snuck up on us and everything. So, I mean, this is definitely one of the best movies we've seen this year. It was probably one of the
one of the better horror movies this year.
Oh, definitely. And like I said, the humor in it was so funny. I especially like that woman that played Aunt Helene. Just like that scary woman with like the fucking hair and shit like that.
Something about it, the tonally, it kind of reminded me, not quite like Witches of Eastwick. I mean, that's kind of an old movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of like The Legacy, but a little bit, but more humor in it.
Yeah.
But it's just something about it.
It reminded me a little bit of Tim Burton's Dark Shadows, except good.
Okay, yeah.
Because I didn't like Tim Burton's Dark Shadows. Yeah. But it kind of looked like that, like in the way that, but I mean, it was cool because like every member of the family like had their own personality quirks and they were all like kind of funny to watch.
It was almost kind of like a more violent version of like maybe the Addams Family.
Yeah, they did come off as kind of Addams Family-esque. Not quite so gothic, but you know what I mean? It was that kind of thing.
Yeah, they weren't cartoon characters, but it was kind of had that... I don't know. It wasn't like some kind of earth-shattering movie or anything. It was nothing brand new. It was just a decent horror movie this year.
Yeah, and it's like I said, I had a blast with it. I thought it was hilarious. Like one scene in particular... I'm probably not going to spoil that either, but like one scene that involves punching someone, that like made me laugh out loud for some reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had a lot of fun with this movie. If you like horror comedies, if if anything I've said like makes you want to see it, I've seen it compared to like Clue mixed with The Purge, which I guess is kind of similar too. So if that sounds like something that would be up your alley, then by all means check it out. Go see it because like I said, it seems like a really small movie. It's doing better than they expected, but kind of a little indie movie. It's from Fox Searchlight. So right, and the third movie we saw this week was one, again, we've been looking forward to it for a very long time. It was It Chapter 2.
It's a must-see movie.
It really is. I mean, we really, really loved the first chapter, so we've been waiting for this for, like 2 fucking years, right?
Yeah, that's it. I'm glad that, that they made it. As far as like a two movie series or a multiple movie series in the horror genre, this is the best one.
Yeah.
Is this, some people are saying that the second entry is not quite as good as the first one. I don't really agree with that. I think it's as good as the first one. It's different than the first one, but that's the way it was in the book.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to approach it a different way. Like, I will say, I don't think it was as scary as the first one, but also...
It was cool, though.
But also I think that is to be expected because, I mean, the first one is almost entirely from the kid's point of view, and obviously shit is much scarier when you're a little kid, and things become less scary when you're an adult. And since this is mostly centered on the adult characters, then I think it's not going to be quite as scary. But in some ways too, and keep in mind that I haven't seen the first one since it came out in the theater, so it's been a while since I've seen it. But to me, the tones seem very similar. Yeah. I mean, I thought.
Gotta buy them both on Blu-ray. Gotta have them both.
Yeah, I really would like to see them both, like, in one sitting. Right. So I can, like, remember what it's... I mean, I remember a lot from the first one, but...
In the second one, they have to come back to Derry, and they're coming back as adults to deal with, the clown, the It clown, and, what's his name, Pennywise?
Yeah.
And there's also some flashbacks of them as kids. Some stuff that, really wasn't addressed in the first movie, you know what I mean? And really, pretty much everything comes straight out of the book as far as I remember. I mean, that's pretty much how I haven't read it in a long time, and that's pretty much how I remembered the story going.
Yeah.
It's a long movie. It's 3 hours long.
Almost 3 hours, yeah.
And that's a long time to sit there, It's still good, you know what I mean? I had a good time through the whole movie. There was some parts where I thought they spent a little too much time on the character development. I think they could have been slightly shortened, you know what I mean, the scene-wise. But I think maybe not, I mean, who am I to say? Because it's really hard to execute a book in movie.
It really is. It's a very difficult proposition.
So basically, you're just making a big series of choices. How are you going to do this?
Yeah. What are you going to leave in? Yeah. What are you going to take out? What are you going to focus on?
And I'm just going to say they did a good job. They did a good job. It's a good movie.
I think they did as well.
Yeah.
And I have to say, really, that every single person that they cast as the adult version of the kids was perfect.
Yeah.
You could actually believe... I actually forgot that they were two samurai people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I know who some of that is. Like, I know who James McAvoy is. Yes, I know who Finn Wolfhard is and stuff like that. But when you're watching it, you could forget that that's not actually the kid version of that person. Because they did such a good job, not just in the look, but the way that they acted. You know what I mean? Like, you could totally believe they took, like, the character traits of each kid from the first movie and, like, made, like, an adult-sized version of it. Not, not to the sense where it's, like, the grown-up people are acting like the kids necessarily, but you can tell the personality of the kid has, like, is coming through, like, as an adult. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Another thing that I liked about it is just that the special effects were pretty damn good in this one, too.
Yeah.
And they got into the... exploring what it is that this monster is.
Yeah.
Where did it come from? And it's good. It's close to the book. I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah.
But, and this is how I always kind of pictured this monster from the book. The other series that had what's his name?
Tim Curry in it.
Tim Curry in it. That was okay, but it didn't quite do it justice. This one is closer to the way I kind of imagined.
Yeah.
About what this, especially some of the at the end, the Spider series, and like I said, like you said, I think there is some things missing from it in terms of Derry itself had kind of been poisoned by this evil creature.
Yeah.
And they didn't really get into that too much.
Yeah, that was kind of a big. I mean, that was kind of a big aspect of the book. I haven't read the book in many years, but I've been reading like more summaries of it just so I could like refresh my memory and stuff. I do think the end of the book. Well, into the book they go more. He goes more into, not just the idea of it as this kind of trans-dimensional or whatever creature that he is.
Basically kind of like an alien creature.
Yeah, that feeds on fear or whatever and works in these 27-year cycles. But I think there was also, in aspect of the book where this being had been underneath the town for so long that it essentially poisoned the groundwater or poisoned the soil. So it wasn't necessarily like possessing the people of Derry, but
it influenced them.
But it influenced them like to kind of be their worst selves. Yeah. I think that
and it was feeding off that damn town for a long time.
Yeah.
For over generations.
Like all the fear and negative emotion and stuff like that. So it's almost like that was kind of sort of hinted at in the movie. I think particularly in the opening scene, which they took directly from the book. Adrian Mellon and his boyfriend at the fair and they get, beat up and everything. That was taken right from the book. So I think you could kind of get a hint of it there, that it's like, that's where all this, like, that's why all these people in Derry were so shitty and hateful and everything like that. It was because of this thing being underneath there. Yeah. And that was why there was always like this rot at like the center of this town. But I think I would have liked to see a little bit more of that in the movie, but like I said, you can see it or not. If it's there, if you've read the book, like you probably pick up on it more than somebody that hadn't read the book. But it's kind of like I don't know. I guess it's like a nebulous concept, and maybe that's harder to put on screen.
Yeah, they did keep the basic theme of the book and the meaning of the book, and the meaning of this story is don't give in to fear.
Yeah.
That a small fear can become a very big fear and then end up becoming a danger. So don't focus on your own fears and where your fears come from. Because that's the only way to defeat this monster is not to have any fear of it. That's, and that's exactly, and I think that was good in the book too, and that does really come through a lot in the movie, is that these things that frightened you as a kid, and then sometimes they can like metastasize, and then when you're an adult, they're still affecting
you. Yeah. Like it resonates like throughout the years, and I think they were really good at at putting that across in the movie.
Yeah, in the movie, in order to get the strength that they needed to defeat this thing, each kid had to kind of face and overcome their own demons.
Yeah, because they all kind of go off on their own little journey.
Which diffused kind of like the root causes of all the fears that they had and the personality faults that they had come from basically childhood experiences when you're real impressionable. So you had to kind of purge those out first.
Yeah.
And then you'd have the strength to go up against something like this and not be afraid of it.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, and it was the whole thing about, like Eddie's character kind of getting over his like germophobia or his like anxiety about everything. Bev's character who had, she had an abusive father who sexually abused her and stuff like that, and then later on when she's an adult like ends up with a guy just like that, even though he has a lot of money and stuff. And so you're seeing like the way that their fears as children like manifested themselves as adults, and how they had to go back and like get rid of that worst part of themselves.
And the movie is saying that, it doesn't matter about your moral judgments on situations. You have to let go of things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because sometimes grabbing onto these things will make it worse. So some of it you just have to leave it in the past, so you can confront the present. And in the present, they had to deal with this damn monster.
Yeah.
And this monster would prey on you by using the childhood trauma and the fears and shit that you're carrying with you.
Yeah, knew your weaknesses.
That's your Achilles heel.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an allegory.
Yeah.
It's an allegory for adulthood.
And I think that came across really well. Now, I have to say, probably, like I said, all the actors in it were great. They all seemed very much like their kid counterparts. I love James McAvoy in pretty much anything, so he was awesome in this. Also, the guy that played Richie, Bill Hader, he's in a whole bunch of other stuff too, but a lot of reviews I read said he fucking stole this movie, and he kind of did. In the book, he was a radio DJ, I think. In this, they made him a stand-up comedian, but it was like a similar vibe. So this movie is actually, speaking of stand-up comedians, this movie is actually much funnier than I was expecting. Although I guess when I thought about it, I was like, no, I guess the first one was funny too, because especially like all the smack talk between like all the kids and shit.
So was the book.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of good callbacks and Easter eggs, callbacks to Alien, callbacks to The Shining.
Yeah.
You actually heard, what was his name? You heard Mr. Torrance yelling, here's Johnny and stuff at certain times. So you know that in this universe, The Shining also happened.
Yeah.
Weird stuff happened.
Also, nice little shout out to The Thing.
That's what I said.
No, you said The Shining.
Oh, The Shining.
Before that, you said
I did.
You said something else.
Okay.
you said Alien.
Alien. No. There might have been. There was something from the Alien. There's a face hugger shout out, and then there's also a the Thing shout out with the. That
one was the most obvious, but it made us both bust up laughing. In the theater because I was like, oh,
don't want to spoil it. Don't
spoil it. But you'll know it when you see it. Obviously, if you've seen The Thing. But so this okay, so I don't know. Like I said, I don't think it's as scary. It's more focused on the characters, which I guess the first one was too. So I don't know. It's probably one of my favorite scenes in it, I think, wasn't even one of the scarier scenes. I did like a lot of the Pennywise scenes because with him, like, killing, because he does, like, kill kids in this. So, you do get to see that.
Through the air with the balloons, the laughing. He didn't quite have as much dialogue as I think he
wasn't in it quite as much.
He wasn't in it as much, right?
I mean, he was in it a lot,
but he was in it. But he was in it taking the forms of other things and other people a lot.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? That's another thing is that you find out that whatever its form is it has to abide by the rules of the form
of whatever form that it's in.
And then the only way, you have to get this thing to start showing its true form. And I don't want to spoil it. Part of the thing is that they try to get this thing to take what its true form is.
Yeah.
What its true form is you'll see. You'll see.
Well, yeah.
It does have a true form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's different than the book, although it's been a long time since I've read the book, so I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't really remember.
Now, there was some stuff that I remembered that they left out of the book, and I'm kind of glad that they did, that they changed a few things from the book, and in those senses, I'm glad they did, but like I said, I'm not going to spoil it. But one of my favorite scenes was actually not really a horrific scene. It was when, all the remaining losers come back to Derry at the behest of Mike Hanlon, who was the only guy that stayed in town. Like, everyone else moved away and forgot. So they all come back and, like, have kind of a get-together at this Chinese restaurant, where they're all, like, reacquainting themselves. And the character interaction between all of them is they're, like, remembering, like, shit that happened to them as kids. Because, like I said, they had all forgotten about it. They had all forgotten about each other. Like when Mike calls each one, they're like, Mike who are you? I don't remember any of that. So just the fact of them getting reacquainted and remembering things and stuff, and they're just like talking shit to each other, it just seemed it was so natural and like so organic. And like I said, that was another thing that's a testament to like the really good acting in this, is you could totally buy that these people all knew each other as kids, and they were getting back together, and they were falling back into those patterns again of like the friendships that they had back then. So I really, really liked those kind of little character moments like that.
I remembered the first It Part 1 being a little more intense.
Yeah, like I said, the first one was scarier, I think.
The second one, though, I think it was still kind of a masterpiece. It had a lot of story content in it.
Yeah.
If you like the first one, the second one doesn't let you down.
Yeah, and like I said, now that I'm thinking about it, the themes were very similar, and I guess I shouldn't have been surprised by how funny this one was.
Yeah.
Because I remembered when I was thinking back about it, I'm like, yeah, the first one was kind of funny too. Like I said, and it had like a lot of the same like character interactions because it was making you care about the kids. And I think this one was also very successful in getting you to care about these people as adults. And there is some stuff with them, flashbacks with them for the kids and stuff like that. And I didn't really realize it because I didn't notice when I was watching it. But they had to de-age, the kids, particularly Finn Wolfhard, because if you watch Stranger Things, he looks completely different than he did because he's like grown up a lot. So they had to de-age a lot of the characters to make them look the same as they did in the first movie because it's been a couple of years since they shot it. I didn't really notice that. A lot of the monsters, are CGI, clearly. But, that's... It didn't bother me.
It didn't matter because a lot of it's happening in kind of like induced dream sequences and stuff. That this thing can make you hallucinate while you're awake.
Yeah, so it's like what you're seeing isn't necessarily really there
it's not really
in that
anyway.
sense.
Right.
So yeah, so it gets a pass.
It looks cool.
Honestly, one of my favorite scenes too, and I'm almost kind of like bummed out that they kind of spoiled it because they made it the trailer, was when Bev goes to her old apartment and meets that weird old lady.
Yeah, I wish they wouldn't have spoiled that.
I wish they wouldn't have like that was a great trailer.
Yeah.
But it's like when it came in the movie, I'm like, oh man, I wish I didn't know what was going to happen because it's such a great scene. And I think that was honestly one of the best, in the middle part of the movie where they all have to go off on their own personal journeys and like battle their own personal demons or whatever. I think hers was probably the best one. So I kind of wish they hadn't made that whole thing the trailer. I mean, there was parts in it that weren't in the trailer, too. Like, they, obviously they cut it short. But, and you did get to see at the end, like, what happened at the end. Like, whereas the trailer, like, just cut it off. So that was pretty cool. But, I was kind of wishing that, like, when I was watching that scene. Because I really, really do like that scene a lot. Because that old lady's creepy as fuck.
The grand finale was quite cool. Them fighting Pennywise.
Yeah.
And the things that it could do. The different forms it could take. I liked it. It was good.
And I was like, testament again to the actors. It's like I was actually kind of teared up at the end. It was kind of sad. I think I cried at the end of the book. I cried at the end of the book too. I cried at the end of the book too.
Yeah.
I didn't cry at the end of the movie, but I was just kind of like, oh man, that's really sad. You know what I mean? But if you've read the book, like the ending is pretty sad. But so as I said, it's been a long time since I've read the book, so I can't... I remember some things that were in the book that weren't in the movie and vice versa. So, you know...
From what I remember, that was pretty close.
It was very close, and like I said, I think this was a lot more faithful to the book than even the first... I mean, the first one was pretty faithful to the book, or at least the spirit of the book. This one, a lot of the plot points were exactly the same, like a lot of the scenes were exactly the same. Okay. The first chapter, yeah.
First chapter, okay.
Yeah. This one stuck to the book more closely. Like I said, even the opening scene, like with the fair and Adrian Mellon and everything like that, was almost exactly the way it was in the book, which I thought was pretty cool.
Well, some of the stuff from the first part of the book was left out of the first movies, but they readdressed it in the second half.
Yeah, because like I said, this intercuts between...
Because they do flashbacks and stuff.
Yeah. And I was going to say, too, that like a couple of scenes where they actually had the kid actor, and then like it would morph into the adult characters, because you could really tell like how they... I heard that they asked, like, some of the kid actors, who do you think should play you as an adult? And they actually took those recommendations.
All right.
So I thought that was pretty cool. Like, you know what I mean? Because they did a really good job. It's like, nobody was unbelievable. Like, nobody stuck out as... I totally bought it. Like I said, I forgot. There was a couple of scenes, like, with, I think it was with Bill and Bev, and, like, they rode off, and then they showed Bev as a grown-up, and I was just like, oh, there she goes with her kid self. And then I was like, oh, yeah, they're two different actors. I was like, I forgot. Yeah. So they did really do a good job with that. So
Stephen King makes cameo. And he's actually good in it. A lot of times he's not good. He's actually good in it.
I could see how it might piss people off, but I actually liked it.
Yeah.
I thought it was
He's okay.
I thought it was very funny.
Yeah, just a very small bit part.
Also, I liked the running joke throughout the film about the one character, Bill, who's played by James McAvoy, and how he's a novelist, and how the endings of his books are always shitty.
Yeah.
So there's like a... So I thought that was kind of cool, because Stephen King gets that shit a lot about how his books are really good, but the endings always suck. So I thought it was like funny that they had that as a running gag. Like that was just a little poke toward like Stephen King going, yeah, I know they say all that kind of shit about me all the time. So I thought that was funny that they incorporated it into the plot. But yeah, so as I said, I've watched a lot of other interviews with this, but you know, a lot of them seem really positive. A couple of them had like some issues like, oh, it's too long, or blah, 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 or some other shit, or it wasn't scary enough, or whatever. But I really liked it a lot. As I said, I'm not going to say I liked it better than the first one, because I'd have to watch them both like back to back to make that assessment, because it's been 2 years since I've seen the first one. And I would also probably have to reread the book again just to see like what the relationship was between it. But all in all, I mean, I enjoyed this movie very much. I didn't feel like it was too long. I wasn't bored or anything like that. I thought it was really entertaining. A lot of the humor in it I really liked, and I appreciated that. A lot of the monsters were cool. There was like some creepy scenes and shit like that. So, I thought it was pretty fucking good. What'd you think?
Yeah. I like it.
Oh, you just like spacing out? You always look bored when I'm talking.
I just said everything I had to say about it. That's all.
Okay, but yeah, seriously, go see it. It was really good. And, make your own judgment. See how that goes.